Iimtc, I, Anjali Menon from Medwest TV, welcome you all to the first ever International India Medical Tourism Congress, Iimtc 2014. Welcome all. I kindly welcome Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Lalit Pawar, along with Dr. H.N. Garg, Dr. Anil Goel onto the dais. We are living in that country on which we remember our God before starting any good work. Now I invite our chief guest, Dr. Lalit Pawar, along with Dr. H.N. Garg to the stage for lighting the lamp. To start off, I kindly invite Dr. H.N. Garg, the President and Chairman of SCCEM, Society of Critical Care and Emergency Medicine, and also the Organizing Chairman and President of Iimtc, to welcome the gathering. Welcome, sir.
Welcome and good morning, everybody. Our chief guest, respected chief guest, Dr. Lalit Pawar ji, and a guest of honor, Dr. Anil Goel, President DMA, and Dr. Ajay Gupta, Secretary EDPA, and our respected speakers and our colleagues and delegates. You are most welcome to International India Medical Tourism Congress 2014 New Delhi. We present our deepest gratitude to our chief guest, Dr. Lalit Pawar ji, and our guest of honor, Dr. Anil Goel, Dr. Ajay Gupta ji, as they took out their valuable time from their busy schedule to enlighten us with his prospects on medical tourism, and in the same time their kindness to hear from us about the scenario on medical tourism. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It is my honor now to invite the Honorable Dr. Lalit Pawar, the Secretary, Ministry of Tourism, Delhi, to address the gathering. Welcome, sir.
Good morning. Dignitaries on the dais, delegates to this conference, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, on behalf of Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, and on my personal behalf, I would like to congratulate the organizers of Iimtc for organizing this Medical Tourism Congress, and especially I would like to appreciate the tagline, "A Journey for Health." Friends, as you are all aware, with the change of guard, now India is poised for big things. India is poised for mega launches. India is now poised for what I shall call the global visibility and global accessibility. This is right time for all of us, the medical fraternity, to encash the untapped potential of medical tourism, which is almost more than $60 billion US the global level, at the global level. And we in the Ministry of Tourism has a special section which promotes medical tourism. We provide financial assistance, what we call as the MDA, Market Development Assistance, for travel and for other costs, to all the recognized institutions who are promoting medical tourism. I was having discussion with the knowledgeable organizers and experts on the subject. We have miles to go And it is indeed heartening for us that our Honorable Minister, Dr. Mahesh Sharma, who was supposed to be here but he had to go to Kashmir for some political assignments. He himself is a medico. He has a chain of hospitals under the brand name Kailash. It is such a happy coincidence, Dr. Goyal, that our ministry is now led by a medico. So I normally call it, friends, from hospital to hospitality. In one word, in this phrase, we can convey the message. What is medical tourism? I would say from hospital to hospitality, or hospitality for hospitals. So these are interrelated. Hospitality is incomplete, or hospital is incomplete without each other. If you go to a hotel, you look for a hospitality, the warmth, the courtesies, the tidy campus, neat and clean, good services, health, hygiene, everything. Similarly, when we go to a hospital, we also look for hospitality, professional services, neat and clean ecosystem, trained staff, courteous, well-mannered. Fortunately, in the DNA of Indians, the courtesy, manners and politeness are very deeply embedded. From day one when we are born with 38 sets of chromosomes, but in our DNA, we have these basic tenets of human behavior: courtesy, politeness, care for others. So I think we as Indians, we are uniquely positioned to be the global host for meditation. That is my considered opinion, that by nature we are very hospitable people. And if we have world-class Medicare facilities, then there is no reason that our share, I was told by the experts, that out of this global industry of $60 billion US, our share is just 3 billion as Indian hospital sector or Indian health sector. I would request the organizers and all distinguished delegates to deliberate, and of course there will be a series of presentations by the experts. I have already requested the organizers to give me a copy of the presentation and also the recommendations of this Congress. I can assure you that once I get the copy of the recommendations of these 2-day deliberations by the experts and all knowledgeable people, I will at the ministry level have them processed, put up to the Minister Dr. Mahesh Sharma. Then we will brief Honorable Prime Minister, who is also equally keen on not only medical tourism, but tourism as a whole, tourism as a sector. Friends, you will be very happy to know that our Honorable Prime Minister in last 6 months, since 26th of May, wherever he has gone, if you could kindly recall the address of Honorable Prime Minister at the Madison Square in USA, Alphonse Arena in Sydney, BRICS Summit at Brazil, or SAARC Summit, wherever he has gone, he has spoken on tourism. And his conviction is that tourism can become a very effective growth engine for the Indian economy. And when we talk of tourism sector, medical tourism can play a very, very crucial, very important role. So I am not here to make a very long speech, but I am here to convey the concern of the government, to convey the priority of the government of India, and to assure our fraternity who presents here promoting medical tourism. And that's why when I got the invite about 3 weeks back, first I checked up the background of the organizers, and when I was told that the organizers are very dedicated, professionally qualified and very eminent people, I immediately gave my consent that yes, I should come, despite the fact that today is a holiday. Saturday we don't work. But when I came to know that it's a medical tourism conference, I decided to come for my education. I would like to be educated by you. I would like to be briefed by you so that I can brief Honorable Minister and Honorable Prime Minister what should be our policy prescription for medical tourism. We are with you and we request you that please give us your considered opinion, considered recommendations. On behalf of Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, I would like to assure you full support and cooperation, and whatever ideas, especially the objective of this Congress, like creating awareness, networking of the stakeholders, promoting public-private partnership, and also very good idea has come up during the discussion. Of course, our experts will also deliberate upon this, the promoting one brand. I was told by the experts on the subject that Singapore medicine is a brand, Jordan medical is a brand. Can we think of Dr. Goyal and all our seniors and who are experts present here? Let's launch something like India Care, India Healthcare. We can come out with a catchy name like Incredible India is now a global brand. We have been promoting this brand for last 12 years and is one of the super brands at global level. So under the overarching mega brand of Incredible India, can we have this medical tourism special brand, whether it is India Care or Healthcare or Health India or Medical India, whatever, we can come out with a catchy name. And we have the best brains working for my ministry to formulate a global media campaign. A global media campaign to launch India as affordable, India as world-class, and India as a very hospitable medical tourism destination.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your insight on medical tourism. Now I call upon Ms. Vijayalakshmi V from Medibus TV to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Anjali. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to express our sincere thanks to Mr. Lalit Panwar, the Secretary, Ministry of Tourism, Delhi, for spending his valuable time with us. I kindly request Dr. H.N. Garg to hand over the bouquet to Mr. Lalit Panwar as a token of appreciation. Now, I wish to express my gratitude to Dr. Anil Goyal, President of Delhi Medical Association, for being with us. I kindly request Mrs. Rekha Garg to hand over the bouquet to Dr. Anil Goyal as a token of appreciation. I like to express my gratitude to Dr. Ajay Gupta, Secretary, East Delhi Physicians Association, for being with us. I kindly request Ms. Renu Singh to hand over the bouquet to Dr. Ajay Gupta as a token of appreciation. We also would like to acknowledge our gratitude to Mr. Sohan Roy, CEO and MD, Medibus TV, Dubai, for spending his valuable time with us. I kindly request Ms. Chandrasekhar to hand over the bouquet to Mr. Sohan Roy as a token of appreciation. Thank you, sir. Last but not the least, I would like to thank the media and the press and also each and everyone present here. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, let us start the technical session on medical tourism leadership and excellence. I would welcome Mr. Naveen to take over. Thank you and have a good day.
Now I would call Mr. Prem Jigyasi to come on the stage and start the conference as per the agenda. Thank you very much.
I am going to talk today about medical tourism opportunities and challenges. I have had a pleasure of traveling to more than 40 countries and speak in 150 international conferences. So what I'm trying to do over here in my limited time, put an effort to bring all of my learning and to put some thoughts in front of you that what is the status of medical tourism in India compared to what is the medical tourism status globally. Obviously, we know that it's a $60 billion massive industry and it is growing rapidly, very fast, and we see that India has a great opportunity to capture a bigger slice. But where we are lacking, what are our challenges, and what we can do. So this is my landscape of my presentation. So obviously I'm going to talk a little bit about the medical tourism growth factors. I did an extensive research on medical tourism destination evaluations and benchmarking, where I'm trying to compare between few destinations, that what these destinations are doing compared to what India is not doing, so that we get to idea that what is happening in medical tourism, so that we can understand what are the challenges, growth hurdles. And important portion of my presentation is the role of leadership. And I extremely and sincerely believe that India has a potential, but maybe only if we can convince the leadership, which is not only the government, but also the associations, private hospital associations, also private healthcare player. So let's roll with this simple information that medical tourism is around 60 billion and wellness tourism around 110 billion industry. Though we do not have an exact figure, but this is what is industry around. Now let's understand a bit. What is the healthcare scenario globally? No matter which part of world you're living, whether in a developed country or underdeveloping country, there are chances that every country is suffering through a healthcare crisis. If you start with the US, in US around 250 million people are uninsured or without proper insurance. The healthcare cost is extremely high. Sometimes what you pay as an overpay in insurance company is equivalent to the healthcare procedure price you pay. In Canada and UK, you pay you have to wait for 6 months, 3 months, sometime for elective surgical procedure. If you come to Europe, because of the baby boomer, because of the aging population, the healthcare investments are shrinking, and lots of money from the government goes into the geriatric care, taking care of the old population. And that is causing a severe healthcare resource shortage in Europe. In Asia, let's say in Japan, sometimes the hospital stays of 14 days, so the healthcare is becoming very costly. Obviously, in places like Africa, Bangladesh, Nepal, and small places, healthcare is not available up to that par. So what is happening? In developed world, healthcare is costly. In developing world, sometimes healthcare is either unavailable in some areas, or some policy procedures are not allowing to grow it further, lack of investment. And obviously in underdeveloped world, there is no healthcare, proper healthcare structure. So what we have learned, that all these three segments will continue to travel for medical services. Developed world will travel because the healthcare is costly there. Developing world will also travel, and underdeveloped will also travel. So when a travel happens, there are various reasons why medical tourism is growing significantly. Number one, topmost reason is affordability. Lots of patients cannot afford. Availability, in Africa, healthcare is not even available. Accessibility, healthcare is available and quality services are there in UK and Canada, but it is not accessible for the patient. He has to wait 3 to 6 months time. Sometimes quality of care lacking. So these are the key factors why medical tourism growing, keeping in the mind, now it has become very easy to travel. Airlines have reduced price drastically. You are easily able to book the ticket or hotel or other things. And so there are so many other factors also involved in the growth of medical tourism, which include the establishment of the global medical standards. So there is a JCI accreditation in USA. Turkey has a Turkey would have 50 hospital around. UAE hospitals also there who have JCI accreditation, and hospital in India also have a JCI accreditation, which means the Indian hospitals follow same standards what an American hospital follows. So these are the key factors and driver why medical tourism is growing. In 2010, when I did a research and a study, I found around 30-35 countries promoting medical tourism. Today, around 2014, I have seen at least press releases from 100 countries trying to promote in medical tourism. So challenges are great for us because every country is trying to come up and say that we offer medical tourism services. I will also go through a small video very quickly to give you a little bit idea about the healthcare in different countries. But because we have limited time, I would like to do a destination evaluation of few countries. And in order to reach to that conclusion, what we did is we did a small survey with 159 medical tourism experts. And we asked them that what are the key decision factors in patient's mind when they decide for the destination. So they said obviously quality standard should be there in that destination. Destination should be popular, should be easy accessible, that visa should be easily available. Then it should be a recognized medical sector. They should have good technology. They should have a great government support system. That's the very important I'm going to talk. And here is a slide which gives you the ranking from the patient. So this is how patient rank. A patient says that his topmost priority when he decides for destination is the quality. He's ready to compromise on the price and other issue, but not with the quality. So the topmost factor is the quality, technology and the facility at the place, accessibility, my visa arrangement, whether I can go or not, recognition of the destination, population, what is the affiliation of that particular destination with my country's hospitals, government support, what support government is providing. Now you would surprised to know that in Turkey, Ministry of Health has a free dial number for international patient. So if you go for a treatment in Turkey and if you end up in some problem or difficulty, you can dial a toll-free number which is going to help you for medical tourism. So that kind of support medical tourism has got from the government organization. Also a patient is concerned about the cultural and social security. Like we know that Thailand is #1 place in medical tourism, but lots of patients are really concerned about the political scenario and the cultural scenario, social scenario currently happening, quite regularly happening. And also similarly in Egypt and other places in Middle East, these are the big challenges we have. Now here is the evaluation. When we did a further research, so Jordan, Turkey, India, Thailand, Singapore, Germany, you can see that as you rightly said, sir, that we have that DNA of courtesy. So we have that cultural, social, tourism openness, amazing. And if you see among all the country, India is the leading in terms of hospitality, openness, and providing that support when patient require or a traveler require when he come to India. We also are popular and very well recognized. But where we are lacking is that our government support and our affiliation with the destination. As like Thailand has an affiliation with UAE, Jordan has an affiliation with other Gulf country, that we are going to help each other to improve the healthcare standards or exchange the patients or exchange the healthcare resources. We do not have such affiliations. We do not have such a structure at this moment which allow medical tourism growth. Though we are certainly capable, though we have great level of healthcare services and quality of healthcare services, we are equally capable along with all these destinations to handle any complicated medical, tourism, surgery or procedure as like other destination. But Turkey, Thailand, they are taking far more business than us because their government support, their affiliation with other government and infrastructure, tourism infrastructure is probably a little better. This is the India scenario and we can clearly see that this is the area which is we have problem. And I'm going to probably I'm going to suggest few points if we can implement those on medical tourism side. There is a World Economic Forum and they did a very big research, and these are the points come in a World Economic Forum. Because of my short time, I'm not going to go through in detail, but the research which I'm presenting to you, and you can see that we have capacity in terms of tourism support to grow medical tourism. We have very good healthcare services, very good healthcare quality, patient ratio, patient-doctor ratio. And this is most important point, that when a patient take a decision to go for medical tourism, first he has evaluation of the destination in terms of perception, comfortability of destination and openness of the destination. So one is the tourism sector in his mind. Second is the quality of healthcare services in mind. How is the quality of healthcare services? Then the price value proposition, and I was discussing with the Honorary Secretary that India offers such a wonderful price value proposition that no country can offer. Our prices are certainly great, value for money, very reasonable in a kind of quality we are able to provide it. So we provide best value price proposition. But unfortunately, some of our hospitals promote India as a cheap destination. They say we provide cheap services, and cheap is really cheap word. And we should create a brand which focus on value proposition. So what are the challenges for India? We saw that Turkey, Thailand, Singapore doing good in medical tourism. So lack of medical tourism structure, lack of national board, lack of support system which is going to guide hospital, which is going to guide other travel agent about what to do, how to do. That's one of the big challenge we have. So lack of the infrastructure for medical tourism and support system, lack of public-private partnership. In Singapore, in Jordan, in Malaysia, we saw that public tourism board, Ministry of Health, private hospital collected funds together and went and participated in international conferences like Medical Tourism Associations Congress together. So they did great job. They did affiliation. Lots of, we can do like network gathering. How many network gathering like this we see in medical tourism? Hardly 1 or 2 in a year. If we are a $3 billion industry already, and if we are trying to go to $10 to $12 billion industry, don't we require more networking opportunities? Don't we need to know where to target, what to do activity? And ultimately, we lack clear brand, as like our secretary said, that we had to come up as like incredible India. What a tremendous brand it is. And I'm in love with that brand every time I see advertisement or any paper I see it. But we lack that kind of brand in medical tourism completely. There is no brand, no positioning, no recognition of our medical services on the level of incredible India. So very quickly, Jordan, Turkey, Malaysia, Singapore have done all these things. Build a national board, do the PPC activity, do other joint ventures, mergers and all, and we can also do that. So here are 7 P's which I can propose it based on my experience. Number 1 is a partnership between the various stakeholders. It's just not about the association government, but also travel agents, insurance companies, equipment manufacturers. We can offer a great product price value. It's amazing the amount of saving. A patient coming from USA can save 70 to 80% on a medical procedure, surgical procedure. Performance showcase, we do amazing surgeries. You see that the kind of surgeries our doctors in India have done that. We can showcase those surgeries. We can penetrate proper target market. We have a 2 target market, underdeveloped countries like Africa. We can do a partnership with them, as like Dr. Deepak suggested, we can have affordable treatment for them. And it's an amazing point that if we can provide affordable treatment, then we can also help those countries and develop a bilateral relationship. We can participate more in activity and position India just not as a cheap medical tourism destination, which is absolutely wrong way to do that. There is a role of international patient department. Tomorrow we are doing workshops, so I will discuss a lot tomorrow about this. But I think so role of international patient department and role of facilitator is very important in the growth of medical tourism. So now how do we encourage government or private hospital to participate in medical tourism? What are our points? What we will say to them? So here is some point on the leadership role which I want to bring it, that if we convince government to participate, whether it's a Ministry of Health, Ministry of Tourism, or even the Chamber of Commerce or Economic Board, to participate that, medical tourism just does not give benefit to hospital. There are lots of benefit from medical tourism happening to the society, because the improved standard of healthcare will also improve the local healthcare system. There will be a recognition of country across the globe that India provide good healthcare services. So far, if you see that, it's so unfortunate. I travel everywhere and all they see is that the crowd in the private hospital, a doctor treating 10 patients and patient lying on the floor. That is the picture in people's mind. If you go to Europe and you ask them what is India, that is the picture, beggar, people asking money and all dirty places. They probably have not been to some of the posh hospitals in Delhi. But if we government start promoting medical tourism, there will be recognitions, there will be an international standard, there will be enhancement in healthcare delivery program. Because when a foreign patient comes, keep in mind that you are going to treat that foreign patient based on the services he is receiving in his home country. So you are going to increase your quality of services, your hospitality, your level of services to meet those standards. And once you start doing for the international patient, it's not later that you will start doing for your local patient. So ultimately, there will be benefit for local patients. There are lots of benefit for private hospitals. There will be innovation, investment, FDI coming in, healthcare cluster development. We do not have a healthcare cities. Dubai has it, Jordan has started it, Turkey has started it. We also need a healthcare cluster development. And once we start medical tourism, we will have a more investment and infrastructure coming into our way. And there are lots of supports to travel tourism industry, pharmaceutical, health insurance, global benefit, corporate buyers, and so many other areas which we can improve it. So as we have other speakers also lined up, I do not want to take more time. We do have a workshop tomorrow also where we will take all the things in depth. But idea from this network and platform we would like to throw in you is that India certainly has great opportunity to be a leader in medical tourism. However, there are certain areas we really have to work. First and foremost is the support from the government. Second is the public-private partnership. Third is the developing a brand. Fourth is to have a more networking opportunity. Fifth is to create the educational and awareness environment. Train patients, train doctors and medical staff about international patients. Keep in mind that international patient require little bit more services than what your local patient require. It could be his cultural demand, it could be his religious demand. You also have to understand the ethics and legal issues also. So those are the things which we can do it together to promote in India and make India the medical tourism destination. Thank you very much for listening to me. May I invite Mr. Sohan Roy and Dr. Ajay Bakshi over here.
I'm the CEO for the Iimtc TV, which is covering the event today. Iimtc TV is the first global TV channel for the medical sector. It is not just a TV channel basically, it's a tool we have introduced for the integration of the entire medical industry. Because medical industry consisting of so many sectors, allopathy, Ayurveda, homeo, lot of things. But all these industries, they are all working separately. They are all going different tracks. But actually, we have only one goal, that is the healthcare for the public. So the very purpose of our channel is to integrate this industry, to work together, to attain a common goal. So that is the reason why I am here, I am invited here, and thank you very much for giving such an opportunity to present this thing. I am from the God's own country. As you know, God's own country is Kerala. But still I am doubtful why our place got such a name. Because we are totally against industrial revolution. We never allow any industry to grow in Kerala. Our place is the place where more than 50 hartals happen every year. It's a place of relaxation. The only thing grow in our land is we like to export our manpower. Same time, only positive aspect is we welcome the international tourists there, and our main bread and butter is from the medical tourism. But still, we call it as God's own country. But ultimately, I got the reason for that because we all consider doctors as gods. And fortunately, our state got so many doctors. Maybe that's why we call it as God's own country. Now, coming back to my role as a role of media in the medical industry. I believe media controls the world these days. The politics the business, everything is controlled these days by the media. Media can make anything positive and negative. Best example recently happened in our state. Like I said, the state got the name God's Own Country. Actually, it was made by the media. It was a branding made by media. That branding brought us a lot of opportunity in the medical industry and the tourism industry. But the same media killed our medical tourism recently. Last month, we had a bird flu issue. Media people, they are the most hungry people in the world, the news hungry people. They need every day some hot news. They need something, hot stuff to fill the column. Last month, they got a very hot subject. There's a chance of bird flu reporting. Without confirming the intensity of the problem, all the media jumped into it. Within no time, they were all celebrating. Our state became a bird flu affected state. December is supposed to be our prime time for tourist destination, the best climate over there. All the hotels are fully booked. Even myself, I used to go for Ayurvedic treatment every year during the December days actually. So if you go to Kerala Ayurvedic centers in December time, you won't get a slot. But today you go to Kerala, everything is empty. Alleppey, the most beautiful, the backwater center, not even a single houseboat. Thousands of houseboats are there. Everything is laid up. Media took the negative turn. Same thing happened with the ISRO spy case decades back. Recently we were celebrating the Mars mission. The very reason was the cryogenic revolution, but we were supposed to celebrate it at least 10 years back when ISRO was introducing the cryogenic engines. All of a sudden the media came up with a cooked up story about the spy case in ISRO. Later, after decades, it was proved that entire thing was fabricated. So this is the power of media. The positive thing is today, maybe you will be thinking this conference is one of the weakest conferences because attendance wise maybe this hall accommodates only 20% of the capacity. But I can guarantee you that this conference is going to be one of the most watched event in the world in the coming days. Because this is covered by a media now. This is not limited to these four walls. When it is getting telecasted, it is going to reach millions of viewers across the world. There is no country barriers. Right now in this hall, you can feel thousands of television signals, radio signals. Media got no limitations. Few years back, media was just limited to print media or television media. But no, now the number of viewership counts, social media is more powerful than any other media. Think about yourself. Every day, how many minutes, how many hours you are spending on Facebook, Twitter and other things. Without WhatsApp, you cannot think about a day these days. So it's going to be the media. And olden days, we used to pay from our pocket to buy a newspaper. But in future, it's not going to happen. Already it started. Newspapers are going to be free. Maybe you won't get surprised if you get paid for reading something, because your investment is the time. Time is going to be the most powerful thing, and media is looking for your valuable time, and your valuable time will be bought by somebody else. So the potential of the media, it can make anything from zero to infinity and it can do the reverse process also. But unfortunately, when you come to the healthcare sector, you take any media, any newspapers. In a newspaper, there is a standard configuration for the main pages, normally taken over by the politicians, political issues, national, international levels. Back pages or a couple of pages will be taken over by the sports. Couple of things will be taken over by the entertainment. So there's a formula for dividing the space in the media. But the most important thing was health is wealth. Without health, even if you are a billionaire, what is the use? We are supposed to be the most expensive tool in any organization. But unfortunately, we take care of a lot of time for the calibration of our equipments, but we never take care of the calibration and proper maintenance of ourselves, the most expensive tool in our organization. We are responsible for that one, but same thing, same way, media got its own responsibility. At least as a part of corporate responsibility, it's time for the media to spare more space for the medical industry. Can do a lot. If at least one full page the newspapers keep for the medical promotions, the positive things happening in the medical industry. Because the public is still not aware about the medical opportunities, the right place for the treatment, right doctors to approach for some kind of treatment, the right medicines to be used. Best example is the cheapest medicines right now available in the world, in India especially. Because I am allergic to many things, so sometimes I go and buy Avil tablets. But when I go to a medical store to buy Avil, I am always confused because always I need to carry coins in my pocket. Even if I buy 10 Avil tablets, if I give 10 rupee notes, I need to get some coins back, and normally the medical stores won't have the balance. So they always ask for the coins from me. So such an emergency tablet, it is so cheap in India. Not only Avil, it's so many other tablets also available in India. But how many medical such useful tips are spread by the media? I will not blame the media only. Actually, the medical industry has to take initiative to make use of the time slot or the space slots in the media. So as part of corporate social responsibility, as part of professional social responsibility, every individual, every medical professional, every medical professional organization, actually, they should come forward, they should meet with the media. If any medical organization come and request any media, which media will say, no, we will not spare some time or space for the medical promotions? But medical journalism is totally different aspect. The journalists got their own limitations to write something about the medical things. But as professionals, as talented writers from the medical industry, it is your responsibility to come and sit down with the journalist of the media to make proper contents so that the public can be benefited out of that. Once the news is taken by the media, you should understand, when one person in the media takes the initiative of a journalist write something or make a program in a TV channel or make a program in the television channel, it is going to reach thousands and thousands. If a video content is telecasted by a channel like CNN, it is going to be watched across the world by millions. So branding of your activities, indirect branding can be possible if you are properly using the media. So let us forget the past. It's a time to change ourselves. You need to understand the potential of the media. It's quite, everyone know about the potential, but nobody takes initiative to make use of the potential. If organizations are like IMA or something, if they can meet the journalist association or media associations, we can make it mandatory that all the existing media should keep at least 10% of the space for the medical tourism, so that tomorrow India can be projected as a world medical hub. Already it is, entire world knows that. India, if you come to India, you can save up to say 65 to 90% in the medical treatments. I travel a lot. Whenever I am going to US and UK, don't think that they are well advanced countries, they get the best medical treatments and other things. It is sure that it is, of course, they have very good hospitals, very good doctors, technology, everything. But the psychological pressure the people living in those countries faced on medical issues, it is unbelievable, because everything is controlled by the insurance companies and the lawyers. So without the rules and regulations of the insurance companies, they dictate the terms. Which doctor to be consulted, how much you can spend. That's why if you are going for a detailed treatment or something, an expert doctor if you are seeking, you have to wait for 2 weeks. By that time, if you are alive, you can meet the doctor. Otherwise, you need to go to some emergency sector of public hospital and finish your treatment. But in India, in midnight, 12 o'clock also, you can go to any specialist doctor's home and you can knock. You will get the support, medical support, at a better rate. So we got a lot of potential, and best way to propagate this across the world is media. So try to understand the potential of the media. We have taken initiative to spread our wings through the MediBiz TV, but it is just a beginning. But one of our main goal is to make use of media, to make the medical community aware about the potential of the media, so that instead of just limiting to healthcare channels, let us make use of the entire TV channels, radios, newspapers, social network sites, to spare at least 10% of the space, available space, for the propagation of Indian medical facilities. And end of the day, it should benefit our medical tourism. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity, and see you again. Thank you.
My name is Ajay Bakshi. I'm the Managing Director and CEO of Manipal Healthcare. It's one of the hospital chains based out of South India. More and more coming towards the north. We have recently opened a hospital in Jaipur. And for your context, I trained as a neurosurgeon, so I still think of myself as a doctor first and as a manager second. And the topic that I was invited to speak on is quality and operational excellence from the perspective of an international patient. And I don't have a PowerPoint slide, but I want to tell you a story, a very personal story which I think all of you will relate to. Most of you are from healthcare backgrounds, and you will recognize that when we start talking about quality standards and operational excellence, we become very technical very quickly. We go into NABH chapter 21, we go into Six Sigma and all of those things. But as a leader, one of the first things you have to do when you want to energize your organization is give a very simple definition of what do we mean by quality. Because it is something that happens to all of us as well. I want to see if there is any one of you who has never been to a doctor, who has never fallen sick. Can you raise your hand? Probably not. So all of us are also subject to the same quality standards that we give to others. And that's the test that I have devised, which I have used in a couple of organizations, and it works very well. When you say to people that do to your patient what you would like to be done to your own family member, that is quality. It's a very deep but very simple test to smell out if you're doing something wrong or if you're doing something right. And this may be a clinical decision to do an implant or not. This may be a financial decision to say I will charge you 30% extra or I will give you a discount. This may be a behavioral decision that I will scold Dadaji for not taking his drugs on time as a nurse because I think he should be taking. But if you ask your own heart that how would you feel if this was done to your own wife, your daughter, your father, your mother, your whoever your loved one is, it will give you the answer of whether it is of good quality or not. So I think that is very important, that people don't get lost and say, sir, we have followed all quality protocols and we are NABH accredited. I'll ask one question, will you bring your own child to this hospital? That will give me the answer of whether do you think as an NABH inspector, do you really think this is a quality hospital or not? So I think it's very, very important. Simplification is very important. Modern medicine, modern science is becoming more and more advanced, and we have a tendency to get lost in technicalities. So that's the first role as a leader of when you're talking about quality standards or operational excellence, in terms of setting the question right and also role modeling it yourself. It's very easy to tell others that, my hospital is great. Do I take my own family to my hospital? And people are watching. And if I don't, then I have some questions to answer to myself, that what am I doing to make my hospital stronger, to improve the quality of these things. And I was just on the phone on the way over here, we were having a debate about a hospital we are opening in Malaysia. It's not open yet, but there was some debate about how many RMOs we have on the ground, what was budgeted, what is actually needed, and the team on the ground is getting lost into budgets and what is needed. They were asked a very simple question, will you take your own father to this hospital when it opens? And the example given was my chairman. He is, he's a billionaire. When he had his wife being pregnant and they were going to have their first child, very precious child, high risk pregnancy, many complications. They said, no, we will deliver in Manipal, Bangalore, because this is our hospital, we trust it. Nobody would have asked that why are you flying to New York or why are you flying to Singapore? But they role modeled from the front that we believe we have great doctors, we believe we have great nurses, we believe we have great pediatricians, and we can take care of our own child in our own hospital. So I think that's what I mean by the first part of my story, is all of us as leaders have to both say it to our organizations as well as live it for our own self, to say that, okay, will I do this to my family member? Now, when you put this in the perspective of international patients, I've been a neurosurgeon, I worked in Delhi, I've been a CEO in Delhi, I used to run Max Healthcare before going to Bangalore. I have seen many not so good things happening in international patients. I know of a neurosurgeon who's called the 100% neurosurgeon by the facilitators, by which they mean that you take any international patient to him, surgery will be done, whether it is needed or not. Obvious implications on financials, surgeon will make money, the facilitator will make money. The poor patient doesn't even speak English. He is probably from Iraq or Afghanistan and he is trusting his health to this translator, to this facilitator, and it does not meet my family test. This does not meet my family test, yeah? On the other hand, I have also seen very complex cases being brought to us, 20 doctors working together, solving that complex case. There was a famous case of Siamese twins, there are cases of liver transplant, there are cases of heart surgeries in children. We have heard of all of these cases. And that makes me proud that our doctors, our nurses, our hospitals, somebody in Lagos one morning is getting up and saying, I want to get up and get on a 6-hour flight, go to Dubai, then get on another 4-hour flight, go to Delhi and get my surgery done there, rather than going to London, where also I can go. Yes, price is a factor. We are probably cheaper than London, but quality, life is also quality, right? So somebody is making those decisions. So I want to, us as a group, to assure ourselves that we hold to those quality standards, so we do more of what we would do to our own family members, even if the patient is from Afghanistan and does not speak English, or the patient is from Lagos and is unable to understand the cultural context of Delhi or Bangalore, but we should do to them what we would want to be done to us. When we go to Cleveland clinics, or you were mentioning, I've grown up in those times when going to Houston was a given, right? Bypass surgery, get a Ministry of Health approval, go to Houston, Dr. Denton Cooley would do a surgery, 1980s, that was a given. And how would we feel when if we were told that, you know, the system is scamming us? There is a lot of financial irregularity, or there are unethical indications for foreign patients. We also end up going there. So I think let us hold ourselves to the same standards that we would expect others to apply to us. If tomorrow we were to go to London for a complicated cancer treatment, although I will say very few people need to do that anymore because Indian healthcare has progressed to a stage. But that privilege of quality also puts on us a responsibility that we are ethical, we are applying quality standards to our international patients as much as we would apply to our own family members. So I think that's the first part of what I wanted to say. A second, slightly more technical part of the story is, I think there is a lot of confusion also about what is quality. What is quality in healthcare? And when I start talking to quality experts, and there are many of them in India now, thankfully, they start saying, you know, metrics like hospital-acquired infections, catheter-related urinary tract infection, falls in the hospitals, readmissions after 24 hours of discharge, re-exploration of a surgery within 24 hours. These are all well-known metrics which are said to be related to quality. However, as a doctor, I will divide this into two. Quality can be related to safety, and by safety I mean preventing bad things from happening to you when you are in the hospital. So you don't want to get infected, you don't want a pneumonia because of a ventilator, you don't want a fall, you don't want a re-exploration. All of this, in my definition of quality, falls under the whole very large science of safety. How do you make sure that the patient is safe while in the hospital, while the doctor and nurse are doing what they have to do? There is another chapter which is not so often talked about, but over the last 5 to 10 years it is becoming more and more prevalent, is how are my outcomes? If as a neurosurgeon I have done 100 brain tumor surgeries, are my patients surviving as well as the other neurosurgeon? Or if as a hospital I have done 100 bypass operations, what is my survival, what is my mortality, what is my complication rate? That is the outcome that I am giving to you as a patient or as a family, rather than saying I don't allow bad things to happen to you. Now, while safety is important, the real measure of clinical quality is outcomes. And why I say this is becoming more prevalent in the last 5 to 10 years is that leading insurance companies in the US, particularly Medicare, which is a $600 billion payer, they spend $600 billion in 1 year, have realized that they will pay for outcomes instead of paying for the procedures and the protocols that were being followed. So in the US, you can go online and see and compare the outcome of Mass General cardiology with Brigham and Women's cardiology. I don't know if they have one, but for sure with say a Cooper Center or Chicago or wherever you go, it's all, the data is there. It's anonymized. It doesn't obviously give the names of the patient. It's grouped, but you can, as a patient, I can go and see that I am a 65-year-old male with a triple vessel disease needing an angioplasty. What was the outcome of this patient in Mass General versus Chicago versus Los Angeles? That data is there. In India, that data is not available. Even within hospitals, very few are even collecting that data. And I had started that journey when I was at Max, and Manipal is actually ahead of the curve a little bit to answer my question that how did we do in the last 100 spinal implants? What were the complications, what were the outcomes, and how do we compare with others? Here I will submit that Indian healthcare is behind the curve a little bit. There is progress needed because this cannot be done by the hospital itself. It has to be managed by a third party, because I can as a hospital always claim I have 100% success. I can fudge my data and there is no way to check whether that is true or not. So NABH is one modality, by which this can be done. NABH goes and inspects in great detail, it collects data. So as a third party, it can start giving customers, patients like you, both Indian and international, pointers towards the outcomes that hospitals are generating, because at the end of the day, the outcome is of a hospital, not of a doctor. And we know that in India we have great public hospitals which have great doctors but have not so great outcomes, because the rest of the system doesn't work. The anesthetist, the nurse, the janitor, it all has to work together. So that is the challenge in public hospital. But the broader theme of quality, when you try to assess, even as a leader of your organization or as a visitor from another country, how good is this hospital, there are two questions you should be asking. Is this hospital safe? Does it have very high complication rates in terms of infections, falls, re-explorations? And what are the outcomes that this hospital is giving us? You should ask that question. You may or may not get the answer. And if you don't get a very clear answer or very fudged answer, or somebody who says, oh, we have 100% success rates, then you should start worrying about that hospital, because nobody has 100% success rates. We can promise you that. If you're saying that I can give you 100% guarantee that this surgery will be successful, as a doctor you're lying. You cannot give 100% guarantee. You're just hoping that this patient won't have a complication, and therefore you will benefit from your confidence. And it doesn't quite work like that. Okay, so that's the chapter on quality. The third related aspect is operational excellence. And by operational excellence we mean, how do all the different moving parts, I walk into a hospital, the front office should greet me, should give me the information, where should I go, whom should I see, how much will it cost, how do I go to that place. Then the registration has to make my registration, then the doctor has to see me, doctor will order some test, I have to go to the pathology lab, to radiology, I have to find out where these places are. The path and radiology will give me tests, the reports have come back to the doctor. Do I have to go and wait for another 3 hours before being told, look, results are not good, you need admission. Then how much time do I need to get admitted, and so on and so forth. You can track the entire journey of the patient to the hospital. It's a very complicated journey. But operational excellence is about, how do you make this journey both efficient and effective. By efficient, it means you are not wasting the patient's time. You are not asking the patient to wait here for 4 hours, wait there for 3 hours. Most other industries have solved this problem. If you go to a bank, they'll have an online option. If you go to an airline, they'll say web check-in, don't need to go into the check-in counter, go straight to the security line. People are trying to solve that problem, and that for me are examples of operational excellence. As hospital managers, we are also trying to do that. It's just a bit more complicated. And one metric, one of the key metrics to track is discharge time. A doctor comes for a round at 9 AM in the morning and says, okay, Mr. Sharma, you are ready for discharge. How quickly as a hospital can I get that patient into a taxi or a car? Most hospitals today, in Delhi at least, take at least 4 hours. Some of them take 5 to 6 hours. I'm not talking about TPA or insurance. There it can take longer time. But there is a nurse involved, there is security involved, a resident doctor has to come and write a discharge summary, the billing people have to take the money, and so on and so forth. It becomes complicated. As a hospital manager, I asked my teams, if a hotel can discharge me or what's the word, check me out in 30 seconds, why does it take us 3 hours? What are we doing? Because hotels have figured it out. If you go to a Sheraton hotel anywhere in the world, midnight you will have an envelope under your door that your bill has already been paid, we have charged your credit card. If you're not using your mini bar between now and 6 AM, just go. You're checked out at midnight. You don't even have to go to the counter. You can just straight go to your taxi, and even that 30 seconds that it takes you in the front office, that's also gone. That is operational excellence. And we should learn from some of these other industries to say, how quickly can we manage some of these complex processes, which are multi-departmental, multi-people, and have many handoffs. And of course, many times the patients also have questions. They may not be totally clear of what to do. How do we achieve this? How do we achieve this operational excellence? Again, the first thing is mindset. Do you people want to achieve it? Are they coming to the job just to do the job, or are they coming to say, no, I want to do my job better today? Doesn't matter if I'm a sweeper and I have to clean the floor, but how do I clean it more efficiently is a mindset. If the sweeper is cleaning the floor as per I have to come in at 8 and I have to go at 2 o'clock. After that, I collect my money and I go home. He is not going to give you operational excellence. And by the way, he's a very important person because dirt in the hospital is one of the big problems. Yeah. So as a leader, you have to get your team energized that your job is not to show up, do something and go home. Your job is actually what defines you in modern society. More and more of us, our identity is hooked to our job, not to our caste, not to our religion, even to some extent not to our country. We are more known as, okay, he is a doctor, he is a nurse, he is a politician, he is a bureaucrat. That's what our identity is. If your identity is something which you are just doing as a time pass every day, then you're not doing justice to your own identity. So you have to energize your people to say every job that you are doing in this hospital is important, is critical, and what are you doing as a nurse or as a doctor or as a janitor or as an anesthetist or as a front office billing to do your job better. So there is a little bit of mindset that you have to prepare, and you have to energize your teams. And once that is done, the rest of the journey is actually easier because there are hundreds of tools available for this, lots of experts available for this. There is this whole school of Lean, Six Sigma, Green Belts, Black Belts, process improvement, process reengineering. All of this is well known, well defined. You can get consultants to do this for us. You can do internal training programs to scale this across functions. But what I see as a bigger challenge is the mindset. How do you make your people excited and want to do this rather than, okay, we'll go and do a 3-day offsite on Six Sigma improvements and come back and hopefully try to do something. Can work, but it is much more effective if the mindset of each and every staff member, each and every team member is that I genuinely want to do better because this is what I exist for. Not my salary, but how well I do my job, and take pride in it. So a little bit of pull from leadership, role modeling and aspiration setting, and also some support from rewards and incentives, recognizing people. You will be surprised how effective non-financial incentives are. Just by saying to somebody, okay, that you are now in the CEO club where because you have done so well, you will get to have a dinner with the CEO. We may think it's not that big a deal, but many people get very inspired by this because for them it's a recognition that the organization is saying that you have done your job well, you have the right mindset, and you are using your tools of operational excellence very well, and therefore you are sort of contributing in a very significant way to the organization. Now, everything that I said was for a hospital, but it is, I would argue, even more important for an international patient, since this is a forum for medical tourism. Because that one international patient is going to go back to his or her country and talk to 500 more people. For sure, the relatives are going to ask, why did you go to Delhi for a spine implant? And he is going to say that, no, I went there, it's a very dirty country, lot of bribery going on. Or he is going to say, wow, what an experience. People are nice, they genuinely care about us. And yes, it's not a perfect system, but they're trying to improve the system. So there are two very different stories that these international patients could go home and tell. And those stories do make a difference. They do make a reputation, which is much more long lasting than any financial rewards, kickbacks, incentive schemes can support your business for more than a few days or weeks or months. That doesn't last very long. So that's our belief in Manipal, that we are in this for the long run. We already exist for almost 1960. Our first medical college was the first private medical college in India in 1953, and we continue to hold on to that philosophy. And interestingly enough, if you look at the Business Week rankings of reputation, Manipal is ranked as the #1 most trusted brand in healthcare delivery in India. And that is because of this philosophy that we have followed. All the things that I said, role model, apply the family test, do it for your own people and therefore do it to your patient, have a mindset of practicing and delivering operational excellence day to day, use the tools and techniques that are available in the market, but do it system-wide, not at an individual siloed level. And if you follow these few guiding principles that I talked about, you will for sure have a very, very bright future over decades and not over quarters or weeks or months of budgetary cycles that many of us struggle with.
My name is Julie Monroe. I have been in the medical tourism industry for almost 12 years. If you talk to some of the people in Bangkok, they will tell you that myself and one other person started the medical tourism movement in Thailand. And as you probably know, Thailand is considered by many as the premier medical destination in the world. And I can tell you many stories about some of the difficulties that we had when we first started, and I'm sure that some of you have experienced those difficulties as well. I was a medical travel facilitator from 2003 until I think I had my last patient in about 2011. During that time, I learned very many things about what it means to be a medical travel facilitator, about what it means to take responsibility for patients who are traveling away from home and who have no one else to rely on. One of the things that I wonder here is how many people in this room have ever dealt with a real medical tourist? Have you ever come face to face and helped a medical tourist? Could you please put up your hands? How many of you have not? And of those who have not, how many of you are not in marketing? So if you have your hand up, you have never talked to a medical travel patient, and you are in marketing, and you are selling medical tourism. Is that right? Okay. So what are you selling? When you're selling medical tourism and you haven't talked to a patient, what are you selling? If you listen to some of the earlier speakers, you're selling a brand, you're selling your hospital. But why is that? Why are we in medical tourism so concerned about the marketing of medical tourism? One of the reasons why we are concerned about the marketing of medical tourism is that medical tourism has come to be defined in big data. Who has the largest number of medical tourists? How many medical tourists do we have? What is the definition of medical tourism? What is the definition of medical tourism? It's the crossing. It's the movement of people across borders to get medical care. Because that is the definition that has come to be accepted as the standard definition for medical tourism, we forget what it really is. It's not about the movement of people across borders. It's about each individual person getting medical treatment. Medical tourism is not about big data. It's not about numbers. It's about people, and it's one-on-one, and it's about care. It's about helping people, and it's about doctors and hospitals. You're welcome. So when I talk about best practices, I say to you, what exactly best practices are you talking about? So as I went through my journey as a medical travel facilitator for so many years, most of the time we brought people. Now, we didn't send people. A lot of people will tell you, I'm a medical travel or medical tourism facilitator, and we send patients, and we'll send patients to any good hospital that you care to think about. In my company, in my business, we did not send patients. We brought them because it became very clear to me almost from the beginning that what was really important is to be on site at the hospital with the patient. Anything other than that, and you are not treating the patient with respect. And that's what I learned as I treated, I didn't treat, but as I supported and managed the care for over 1,000 patients directly. Myself and my assistants probably, in the years that we were very active, probably saw about 1,500 patients on a day-to-day basis. How many inquiries did we handle? How many emails did people send us and ask us to respond to? Tens of thousands. I was a medical travel facilitator, and I don't know how many of you remember this. When McKinsey did their study with the Indian Chambers of Commerce, was it the Indian Business Council? I think it was the Indian Business Council. And they announced that medical tourism for India was going to be, $20 billion or $200 billion industry or something like that. 100 billion by 2020. And by 2014, it would be about 60 or something like that. Instantly, our business went from just a few people to hundreds of people, because everybody saw that, the American television came to do that story. They ran it on 60 Minutes, the most watched television show in America. You couldn't believe the number of people that responded to that story. But it was all curiosity. The number of people who actually did come in the hundreds, but a lot of it was just people, starting to find out. So we out of all of that, and because our business was concentrated in Bangkok, we went with the ups and downs of political coups and tanks on the street, and then, beyond Thailand's borders, then the economy sinking and all of that kind of stuff. And so the business kept going up and down like this. And we kept going to conferences like this and kept talking to other medical travel facilitators. And some of them actually said, yes, we've had the same experience that you have had, that, we know that this is a business about patients, that this is a business about care management. So what can we do together? And as a result, we formed the Medical Travel Quality Alliance. This is not, and that was in 2009. This has nothing to do with the MTA. Sometimes people tell me, well, the MTA says that you're a part of us. No, we're not. I think, in fact, the philosophy of the MTA, the Medical Tourism Association in America, is very different from the philosophy of the Medical Travel Quality Alliance. So in 2009, the very first publication, we decided that we would publish a series of best practices in medical tourism, because we thought by that time we knew an awful lot about it. We had gone through a lot of problems, talked to a lot of people. I spoke at conferences and I spoke about care management and so on, and everybody said, oh, we need to know more about this. So our first publication in 2009 was the care and management of the traveling international patient. We knew then that there was a difference between expatriate patients who come to your hospital and those who have to travel, who have to leave their homes to get care. So we wrote our first best practice on the care and management of traveling international patients. And that's become the most downloaded publication in the medical tourism industry. And it continues to be downloaded, and every once in a while we revise it. The next one that we wrote, and that was primarily for medical travel facilitators. The next publication that we wrote was a best practice for hospitals, and that was, how are you going to give, because hospitals are interested in great patient experiences. So we said, here's how you're going to give a great patient experience to medical tourists. And so in that publication, if you haven't seen it, please do that. You can go to our website and you can download all of them. In that publication, we told hospitals what they needed to do. Not only, most of it at that time was about what we call the comforts for medical tourists, which would be the menus, the types of cuisines, the sensitivity towards spiritual and cultural requirements, 30 international television channels, cable channels or something, the Starbucks in the lobby, all that stuff that is now pretty much expected. It doesn't always happen, but it's pretty much become sort of the high norm or the high bar for hospitals. That's all in there as well. And as we were doing all of this, we would still get some questions from people, and and we felt sometimes that we were talking, in different paths. We said, there's something wrong with that. What is going on here? And we discovered that a lot of people don't know what really is medical tourism. And that's what I started out with a few minutes ago. What is medical tourism? It's not about the numbers. It's not about the big data. It's about the one-on-one person-to-person treatment and care. And when you look at medical tourism that way, then you realize that the marketing, the branding, the social media, all of that is fine, but you need to have the right program in place and the best practices on the ground. You need to have your doctors in on the care and the philosophy. You need to have your hospital administrators also. They need to provide the leadership. You can't run a medical tourism program through the marketing department. It just doesn't work. My experience with, by the way, I should tell you that in one of the first conferences that I was at, and there was a delegation or various representatives from hospitals in India, and I said at the time, this was back in, I guess this would have been like 2005, 2006. I think NABH had not existed yet, and I said the bold statement that, oh, my company would never send any patient to India. Well, and they turned around and they looked at me and they said, oh, really? Have you ever been to India? And I said, well, in fact, I lived in India for 5 years, and I still wouldn't send anyone to India. And so that kind of stopped the conversation, because this is a very easy response and this is a very typical response for people from India to say to those who criticize them. They'll say, well, how do you know about the care? Look, we have these fantastic hospitals, we have this, we have that, and how can you criticize us, or how can you comment on this if you've never been, or if you've only been, to Delhi, Agra, Jaipur, or whatever. So I said, no, I've lived in India, I've traveled around, I've been to the hospitals, I've got care, and I'm still not very comfortable sending patients there. And, then 2 or 3 years later, then NABH was formed, and so on and so forth. So things have gotten a little bit better. But would I still send, would I still not send people here? I now know, and I have confidence in, a handful of hospitals that not only are they good, because the good part, the clinical part, is kind of your base. You have to have that If you don't have that, then, you know, that's not part of your options. But the good hospitals so there's a handful of hospitals that understand that patients are at the heart of medical tourism. And I would now send patients to those hospitals. And I'm thinking in particular of Fortis Hospital in Bangalore, formerly the Wockhardt Hospital. Now, one of the features of Fortis Hospitals, not only of that one particular hospital, not only that it was very, it had very excellent treatments, but it also had excellent leadership. At that time, as the Wockhardt Hospital in Bangalore, it was superb, and it was very strongly managed by Vishal Bali, who was their CEO, and he was very strong, and he was very ethical, and he was very straightforward, and he was a terrific manager. Then, you know, things changed, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, the Medical Travel Quality Alliance also developed a list that we call the top 10 best hospitals in the world for medical tourists. And that goes beyond the clinical. You know, again, the bottom line is the clinical treatment is good, if not excellent. That's what you have as your base. Beyond that, then you look at things like, as I just mentioned, leadership. You look at the comforts that are provided to the medical tourist. You look at the communications. What kind of communications go on between the patient, or let's say from the patient to the doctor? Is the doctor really hearing? From the doctor to the patient, is the patient really understanding? Communication between the hospital's intake, or not intake, but the inquiry office, which sometimes is in the marketing office. What is that communication? Is that clear? So there are a number of levels of communication that we also look at and we are concerned about. We look at the networks that hospitals have with medical travel facilitators. And by the way, are there any medical travel facilitators here today? Anybody who's a facilitator? Okay, so it's just you guys. So we look at the communications between the medical travel facilitator and the hospital, as well as the facilitator and the patient and so on. We look at privacy and security and safety. Safety to a doctor or to a hospital executive is different from this kind of safety that I look at for medical tourists. Safety for a medical tourist is not only the safety inside the hospital, and even there are very many situations where a medical tourist is not safe, but, you know, if it was JCI or NABH, they'd check off the mark and say, yeah, you know, safe enough. But beyond safety in the hospital is safety outside the hospital. Security, one of the biggest issues is privacy and security of information. And I say this to all of you. This is as we have been doing our certifications of hospitals and clinics and facilitators, we have found that the biggest problem, and not just the biggest problem because there are many problems, but the biggest misunderstanding is with personal information online. Hospitals believe, and they will say to anybody who asks, patient information is secure. It's secure once it's inside the institution. But to get to the institution, it's not secure at all. If I point out to a hospital, look, what you need is, you know, on your website, on the contact page or the inquiry page or wherever you have a patient fill out a form, do you have on the website address link, do you have that little lock? If you don't, then that transmission is not secure. And I would guess that 99%, 99.5% of hospitals don't have that. and they don't get it, then when you explain to them and go through it all and the importance of maintaining privacy and maintaining that security of information, then they get it, they understand it. There are also issues of ethics, of trust, of credibility. These are all issues that all fall under best practices. So I don't really want to talk as much about best practices because there's no point in talking about best practices unless you first have a knowledge of what are the practices that you need to improve upon in order to get to the best. So most of the time what I found, if I can talk for a few minutes about what I have found in Indian marketing of medical tourism, is that there are no practices whatsoever. I've asked a few people in the last little while that I've been here, I've asked them what they do about their marketing. Okay, so well, we're branding. Oh, okay, well, what are you branding? Well, we're one of the top 5 hospitals in, I don't know, I don't want to name any, I don't want to single anybody out, but we're one of the top 5 hospitals, over there. Okay, fine. And what else? Oh, well, we're a super specialty hospital. Okay, and what else? And so when you drill down with any of the marketing people, they don't understand really what their hospitals are about. We get emails and I think people in India are more, they love LinkedIn more than just about anybody else. They use LinkedIn for everything. They use LinkedIn for marketing their hospitals. And I'm thinking, I don't know any patients who look at LinkedIn to find their hospitals. But yet, time after time, whether it's through LinkedIn or whether it's direct emails to the Medical Travel Quality Alliance, to say, we're the best hospital in whatever. Well, truly, people wake up because the best hospital in whatever also applies to Turkey, to Brazil, to Thailand, to Singapore, to Taiwan, to Korea, to Malaysia, as well as to India. So just because you represent or you work at or you market the best hospital or the best specialty, that doesn't cut it. You're not going to get anywhere with that. You have to figure out something else, and this is not, this is not my time to talk to you about how you're going to market your hospital or how you're going to decide on what your medical tourism specialty is. That's, let other people do that or we can do that at another time. But what I do want you to understand is that medical tourism is person to person. It involves the doctors. If your doctors are not on board with understanding that, in fact, medical tourists are not ordinary patients, medical tourists are very different. They need a different set of checklists. They need different care protocols or additional care protocols. And unless you have that, unless you have the buy-in of the doctors, of the executives, the senior executives, not your head of customer service or something, then you're not going to have a strong medical tourism program to market.